If you're an artist and you want to show and sell your work on social media, this video is for you. We're going to share some practical strategies to avoid wasting time on social media and turn your followers into buyers. Welcome to this surgery session on the art ladder, where we are going to cover some of my top social media tips and tricks. I decided to do something a bit more personal and to share behind the scenes of how I manage social media, which is a huge part of my job, so that you can get top tips from somebody who does this professionally day in, day out. And when we look into some things that are working on social media right now, some things that are not working, I thought it would be useful for you to know that this is all based on experience. And so you can see which things you might take home and what might work for you. Okay, I am going to bring you behind the scenes as to my own process. And then I'm going to translate this into a few time-saving tips that you can use. So the very first step in a lot of projects is I will create a rough plan of what I'm going to post. I'm talking here about a project. You're not going to do this for everything, but say you are preparing for a solo exhibition. Fantastic. Or you've been shortlisted for a group exhibition, or you're going to take part in an open studio, or you put together a group show with fellow artists. All of these things I would count as a project, and my own personal process is I'll create a rough plan. So I'll do different phases. There's going to be a lead up to the exhibition or the project. So in the weeks or the months before the exhibition opens or before there's a deadline to join something, then that's what I mean by the lead up. What are you going to do to get people excited, to show the process, to show what's happening, to show what you're doing before the exhibition? Because what you don't want to do, and what a lot of people do, is only share when the thing is ready. We're opening the exhibition tomorrow. Let people know ahead of time. And a way that you can do that is by posting your work in progress, what's happening in the studio. Then the next phase is while the project is open. So again, if you've got an exhibition, from the private view to the closing date, having regular posts. And then as we get closer to the end, some last chance posts, last chance to visit, last chance to see, last chance to purchase work on my website. And then after the event ends, are you going to do a little post to thank everybody, share photos, do a little recap, that sort of thing. Typically, I'm going to do that in a spreadsheet because on Excel, you can write dates and it just writes the proper date for you. And you can then sort things by order of date. That's what works for me. Do what works for you. It'll take me 1 to 2 hours. And I find that this saves me a lot of time and a lot of aggro in the long run. So I will create a rough plan for all our projects. Then the second thing I do is I take as many photos or videos as possible in one go, or I will source photos in our folders, online, on websites. Of course, making sure that I've got appropriate credit so I can say who the photographer is whenever I use those photos that are not mine. But I just find it useful to batch all of that, put it in a folder, and then have it ready. Now, the other thing that I do, which is quite advanced, but I separate the photos that I've already used on Instagram from the photos that I haven't used yet. And then I'll just move them from the not used yet to the used folder, which makes it very easy not to repeat posts. And on this topic of taking photos, so for instance, if we've got a private view, I will show up early and I will take, I'm not exaggerating, I will take hundreds of photos. So my tip here is take a bunch of photos, then take some more photos. And then when we think you have enough photos, take some more photos. And then once you've done that, take some videos. So this is useful for documenting. You've got an exhibition, it's in the show, fantastic. You want to document that because you might want the photos for your website and things like that. On that note, take photos both in portrait format, so holding your phone up, and in landscape format, holding your phone to the side. If you've got a fancy camera, then great, but the same applies. And you really don't need a fancy camera if you've got a recent smartphone. The cameras on those babies are amazing. So take as many photos and videos as you can. Instagram in particular is so image hungry and so video hungry. You're not going to regret this. Another thing that you can do is the night of the private view is frantic. Try and take photos because then you can show how busy it is and all that. But if you can, go back the next day and take some more photos and take some more videos. It will be so useful to creating content. So the next step of my process is I edit the photos and videos. And again, I use my phone to take 99% of the photos that I post on social media, and I will edit most of the photos in the Photos app on my iPhone or on my Mac. I do tend to do most things on my computer just because it's a lot easier to work on a big screen and to work with both hands rather than just working with your thumbs. This is a little appreciated productivity tip is use your computer as your home base. Don't use your phone whenever you can, whether it's for editing photos, whether it's for typing stuff. I type everything on a computer. I know most people are going to see it on a phone, so I want to make sure it looks good on a phone, but I type everything on a computer because it's much quicker. You can even dictate nowadays to a phone or a computer, which is a thing I do from time to time. Save time wherever you can. So I'll do, honestly, most of the editing in the Photos app. If I need something more specific, I'll do it in an app called Snapseed. You don't need to use this particular app. Use what works for you, but it's useful for me because you can pinpoint a bit in your image that you want to edit. So if you want to edit the brightness, but only in one bit of a photo, if you want to edit the saturation, but only in a bit of a photo, then you can do that in Snapseed. Whenever I put video content together, which isn't every day, far from it, I tend to use apps called Canva and Animoto. Again, use what works for you. This is not sponsored. These are just the apps that I use. I find them quicker sometimes than the Instagram tools, which can be a bit finicky and you're doing it on your phone. So those are the ones that I use. But again, I'm not posting video content every day, far from it. And I'll typically do about an hour per video. So it's much more time consuming to do that than to do a photo. But I also know that in many cases, it can be more effective. The next step is I schedule posts in advance. And so I write the captions for everything that goes out in advance. Sometimes I do this with the help of ChatGPT or some other AI writing text generating tool. I find this immensely helpful. I was a big skeptic. I don't like new things and new technologies. And I was a bit scared at the beginning, but I do find it immensely helpful. And it's been part of my process for months, probably a year and a half. Just amazing. And then what I do is I have a note that is synchronized on both my phone and my computer. I have a note where I have all of my hashtags. So every hashtag that I use, I will break it down per topic. So if I'm posting about an open call versus if I'm posting it about an exhibition, and if I'm posting something that has to do with oil painting or pencil drawing or sculptor, then I will use different hashtags and I can just copy and paste them and adapt to every post. So don't use the same hashtags for every post, but you can do these little collections. I've been doing this for years. It's so helpful in getting the keywords. And then I schedule. I use both the paid versions of Hootsuite and Later. There are free versions of both, but the free versions are very limited. But they're very useful apps to see the posts that you scheduled in advance, to move posts around. And the scheduling bit, honestly, takes me 1 minute. Copy and paste the caption, pop the image in, write the time and date, move it around in the calendar. That's me done. Thank you for watching this video. To watch the full 1-hour video and get our step-by-step advice, then click the link below to join the Art Ladder today. If you want more social media tips for artists, register for a free masterclass about selling your art online by clicking the link below.